All right, welcome. Um, I was given an essay. Actually, several of my students this week gave me a one-page essay they had to do. And several of those students, when I was reading their essay, I realized, maybe they didn't write that essay. They didn't cite their work properly. So here is an essay. I want my students to understand the essay writing process and basically how it's all supposed to come together. So I have an essay here. What's the topic? Cyberbullying. And I've gotten rid of the student's name. I don't want to pick on him or her. I basically um, I want the students to see what I see when I mark. Now down here she's got my name, the student, the date, and the course. Now I don't know what happened here. It might have got centered. I'm gonna hit backspace, and then here I'm gonna hit tab so that these all line up. The funny thing is there's this kind of grayish background. I don't know what's causing that, but anyway, that was the title page, and this student agreed to share this essay with me, and so I can help other students. And this essay, the title, or sorry, the introductory paragraph goes, cyberbullying involves the use of communication technologies such as the internet, social networking sites, websites, email, text messages, and instant messaging to repeatedly intimidate or harass others. Cyberbullying includes. So I'm not gonna read it to the whole thing. You get it, but that's a beautifully written description, and notice the font here. Look at the font up here. It's Verdana, but if I go to the next paragraph, it's Open Sans. There's some font changes here, which is curious to me. So what I'll sometimes do is I'll take some of your essay and I'll copy it and I'll paste it into the internet, into a Google search, maybe even with quotes around it. And what happens is, unfortunately, my student here did some good research. She found this amazing site. This is by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And I mean, let's take a look. Cyberbullying involves the use of communication technologies such as internet. So my student, what she did was she copied this definition. She went copy, and then she went back into her essay and pasted it right here. So I've gotten to the point. I'm not even mad at her. I mean, this by definition though is plagiarism. What I was trying to tell her today is that if she cites this properly as a direct quote, then I can't really accuse her of plagiarism. So if she were just to cite this opening intro. Now, there's a lot to this, but generally I'm going to show you how to cite work. So this page, who made it? The Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And so it's got an organization, it's got a title. If you go to the bottom, it's got a date. So I'm going to copy the date, and I'm going to go back to her essay. Now, by the way, she had a sources page here at the end of her essay, and she has nothing here with RCMP. So I'm going to say RCMP, and then I'm going to put the title. The organization is the RCMP. So then I'm going to put the date. Okay, then I'm going to put web. Now today's date is October 14th, but I'm going to say October 10th, 2016, and then the URL. Here's the URL. I'm going to right click copy. Okay. What's the title of this article? Bullying and cyberbullying. Copy. I can come here, paste. Now, I don't want that all that big font there, so I'm gonna say keep text only. So that, my students, right here, RCMP, bullying and cyberbullying, the date, web, date obtained, URL. That is a bibliographic entry. And it's hard to make that. But this here is in my sources page. Well, what do I put here after my direct quote? Now, by the way, I should put direct quotes around what was taken off the web, and then a round bracket, and then RCMP. So what this says is, if this is a direct quote from this RCMP page, if you want to learn more about this RCMP source, go to my sources page. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's how we do it. RCMP, here we go. So there's more to it than this. You can actually lead into a quote. All right, so I just took a minute here and I Googled how to lead into a quote. And of course, you're going to find all kinds of resources, but I'm just going to click one here. Here's one, and you could read it. You can use a full sentence followed by a colon to introduce a quote. Examples: setting emphasizes deception, colon. Nothing is as it appears. Okay, so that could be a little tricky. You could read through examples. Smith states, Smith remarks, Smith writes, Smith notes, Smith comments, Smith observes, Smith concludes, Smith reports. So what they mean by Smith here is the author title. Okay, so what I'm trying to show you here is if you have a quote and here it is, you could write an essay and just dump these quotes into your document, but you still have to have some original authorship. So what I would have liked this student to do, I'm going to underline this just to really emphasize that it's a direct quote. What I would have liked the student to do is maybe start off with a bit of her own words. Cyberbullying is becoming a huge problem as the internet becomes more pervasive in our lives. Many people are familiar with bullying, but cyber bullying is slightly different. So this is where I'm going to lead into this quote. According to the RCMP website, okay, now instead of just dumping this quote, which by the way, I mean it's a good introduction to cyberbullying, she could have paraphrased that. She could have kind of read it and put it in her own words, but she went ahead and put a quote, a direct quote. So what we've done now is we've kind of, instead of just putting a quote by itself, we lead into it. And in fact, maybe we could even lead out of it, but it takes a little bit of effort to really be able to take information off the web and make it part of your discussion, your argument. That's why I think people struggle to write essays. So do you see this part here is my own words? I'm leading the discussion, but you know, I do have the ability to take a direct quote off the web. If I put it in quotation marks and put an in-text citation, this here is the in-text citation. If I do that, I'm less likely to be accused of plagiarism. Now, you got to find a balance of how much should be original authorship and how much should be direct quotes or you know. All right. In the second paragraph, there's a story about Amanda Todd, who's a famous victim of being cyberbullied. She told me, she said, I got this story from ABC News. Okay, so just to kind of reiterate, where were we? We're talking about this story about Amanda Todd coming from an ABC News website. So my student, she's good. She said in October 2012, the ABC News reported. So she's tried to lead into this, and I'm going to assume that it's not uh, a direct quote. I'm going to assume she paraphrased it. But if she did that, okay, she has to give credit to this source. Now, let's look at her bibliography. So she's got ABC News October 2012, but that's not the full bibliographic entry we want. Remember, a source has to have author, title, organization, date of article, web, date obtained, URL. So let's look here. There's a title here. Oh wow, there's an author here. So Christina NG. So I'm going to copy that and paste it. So that's the author, and then I'm going to put a title. Bullied teen leaves behind chilling YouTube video. Okay, and then a date, October 12th, 2012. That's the date of this article. Now, by the way, what's the organization? It's ABC News. So Christina NG, I should put here ABC News. Okay, this is obviously off the web, so I'm going to put web. I'm going to put the date, October 10th, 2016, and then the URL. Okay, and I'm going to format paint all the formatting out of there. So look what my student did. I asked her to cite her work, and she tried. She said, okay, it's from ABC News in October 2012. But look, there was an author name. There was a title of that article. There's an organization. There's a date. There's the date you got it, and then a URL. Do you see the difference? This is not MLA. This here is not MLA style. Okay, this is MLA style. Okay, MLA style, by the way, look. I even had a generic MLA format for the bibliographic entries. So this author's name is Christina NG. So at the end of this paragraph, I'm going to put NG. Okay, now NG, that's a last name that many of us aren't familiar with, but if someone says NG, what's NG? And they come over here and they see NG, oh wow, okay. So this in-text citation here points to the sources page here, okay? So this is the challenge of me as a teacher trying to teach people how to cite work. Students don't understand that you can't just copy and paste things off the web. If you do, you have to put it in quotes. You have to put a bibliographic entry here. Sorry, this is an in-text citation. And that points to the bibliographic entry right here. Okay? So please try to understand that. Try to by the way, if you do quote something, you should lead into it, and you should lead into it and lead out of it. Something that's quoted should be part of your argument or your discussion you're trying to make. So I hope that helps, and thank you for listening. Bye-bye.